Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we're going to cover a high growth business or a company that is in a sector with a lot of tailwinds, and the business right now is at an inflection point, meaning that the company can grow at a fast pace going forward in the next couple of years. So the company we're talking about today basically makes your heat exchangers and different types of coils such as condenser coils, etc., that are used in your ACs, coolers, chillers, etc., HVAC systems, data centers, etc. So in today's video, we'll try to do a deep dive analysis of what heat exchangers are, where they are used, and why these products are seeing such a huge opportunity right now. What are the tailwinds in the market? Then we'll do a more company specific analysis as to what are the applications of companies' products, what type of numbers or guidance the management is given, what is the kind of valuation that is coming out from FY27, FY28, and what are the parameters that we must track from a growth point of view or from a risk point of view for these next financial years. So on that note, let's start the video. So the business that we're talking about today is KRN Heat Exchangers, and as I mentioned before, the company makes different types of heat exchangers, condenser coils, etc. that are used in your HVAC systems, data centers, ACs, वगैरह. And this is personally a business that I started tracking in Q3 of last year, and ever since that quarter, I have been adding positions in that stock because of the kind of numbers that the company guidance the company is given, the kind of valuations it trades at. But if you look at it from a trailing 12-month P, of course you'll see that the company is trading at a very expensive P. But as we'll see later in the video, the company is not as expensive as it seems. And after the Q4 results, I've started adding more in the stock because I personally believe that if it's a great business that is in a lot of tailwinds and it can do well going forward, I have to reward it on the way up. So that being said, that is just my personal opinion. You guys do your own research. This video is just to help you further your analysis and make it simple. I started adding this company Q3 के बाद because Q3 में the company gave a good guidance for the kind of capacity expansion that the company is doing. And being a capital good company, we have to analyze capacity expansion because that is a direct reflection of how well the company or how fast the company can grow going forward. So Q3 में I started adding, and after the Q4 results I started adding more. But just a personal this is disclosure that I am a shareholder. I might be biased. I just want to provide the full analysis so you guys can take your own decision. I am not SEBI registered analyst or anything like that. But if you look at it, trailing 12 months where you can see companies trading at approximately 97 times earning, which might seem like a lot, but as we'll move on to the analysis, you'll understand why it might not be as high as it seems. So first, let's understand what is the role or the use of heat exchangers. So I have this presentation made, and here you can understand heat exchanger basically क्या करता है. It is a device that transfers your heat between two objects. So the object can either be a liquid or a gas. So let's say there's I have a hot liquid here and I have a cold liquid here. Basically these two liquids pass through each other, and the hot energy, or means the hot liquid, that transfers its energy to the cool liquid, and therefore the hot liquid becomes cool and the cool liquid becomes warm. So this is basically how heat exchangers work. As you can see in this diagram, basically what it does is it transfers thermal energy between two or more fluids at different temperature without mixing them. So give special importance to without mixing them because heat exchangers are seeing इतनी कंपनी की डिमांड क्यों आ रही है. बेसिकली डेटा सेंटर्स एंड HVAC सिस्टम से कंपनी को बहुत डिमांड आ रही है बिकॉज डेटा सेंटर्स, एज यू नो, डेटा सेंटर्स को 24/7 रनिंग रखना पड़ता है. उसके लिए यू नीड एफिशिएंट कूलिंग because as you use more and more powerful chips like NVIDIA का H100 chip वगैरह है, 200 chips. So as you use more and more of these chips 24/7, you need 24/7 cooling to keep them cool because वो chips हीट हो जाते हैं. जैसे लैपटॉप हीट होता है वैसे ही अपने डेटा सेंटर भी हीट होता है. तो फिर वो हीट को वो चिप्स में से बाहर निकालना, वो डेटा सेंटर के रूम में से बाहर निकालना, दैट इज़ अ बिग task, and that is why liquid cooling is now emerging as the most preferred because air cooling से कुछ होता नहीं. आजकल तो लैपटॉप भी air cooling से अच्छे से वार्म नहीं ठंडे नहीं होते. So there's a massive demand for liquid cooling, and in this presentation also understand what the different types of liquid cooling. So main जो demand आ रहा है और main मेरा जो investment thesis है is because if companies products get approved for data centers in US and Europe, then this can be the next leg of growth for the company. So basically understood, heat exchanger basically warm and cold को transfer करता है, and this is used in power, energy, etc. And air cooling कैसा होता था पहले? You can refer to this diagram. Basically this is how air cooling used to happen earlier, and air cooling is okay for your data centers that have 15 to 30 kilowatts. But as we go to more and more larger data centers like your AWS के data centers, Google, Meta वगैरह के, then you need liquid cooling. Liquid cooling में भी there's direct to chip liquid cooling, and then there's your immersion liquid cooling, which is the futuristic type of liquid cooling. So you can just read this information if you want. The main thing that we want to focus on is liquid cooling, because this is the main growth driver for the company. So liquid cooling में कैसे होता है? Let's say that this is a data center. Data center में there are multiple server के racks, right? And each server में there are hundreds of chips. So एक chip में क्या होता है? Basically let's say एक Nvidia की chip है, उसके ऊपर एक cold plate बना देता है, right? As you can see in this diagram, there are multiple plates and there are chips on that. So उसमें क्या करते हैं? वो chip के ऊपर एक cold plate बिठा देता है. सो जो भी वो चिप में से जो हीट एनर्जी आ रही है, लाइक जो गर्मी वगैरह आ रही है, दैट गेट्स अब्जॉर्ब बाय द कोल्ड प्लेट. एंड कोल्ड प्लेट में क्या होता है? कोल्ड प्लेट में देयर इज दिस लिक्विड होता है, देन देयर इज ग्लाइकॉल का मिक्सचर, रेफ्रिजरेंट बेसिकली होता है. सो व्हाट दैट रेफ्रिजरेंट डज इज दैट वो चिप की हीट अब्जॉर्ब करता है. वो चिप की हीट लेट्स से वो चिप की हीट अब्जॉर्ब करने के बाद वो जो गर्म गैस आता है, दैट गोज थ्रू हीट एक्सचेंजर, एंड हीट एक्सचेंजर में जो लिक्विड जो गर्म होता है, दैट बिकम्स वार्म, एंड दैट इज बेसिकली रिसाइकल होता है. So imagine this, your cool liquid comes in, it absorbs the heat of the chip, then it becomes warm, then it goes to the heat exchanger, where it again becomes cool, then it comes out again as cool, and this cycle goes on 24/7. That is why there's this massive need for data centers, for your heat exchangers and data centers. So as you can see, KRN doesn't exactly make the cold chip, it makes these heat exchangers that convert the warm coolant into your thanda coolant or water basically. So as you can see, this coolant distribution unit, इसमें there are heat exchangers. What these heat exchangers do is basically जो गर्म पानी liquid whatever आ रहा है, उसको ठंडा करके वापस ठंडा पानी बेचता है, एंड जो बाकी की एक्सेस हीट है, दैट इज लेट ऑफ टू द हीट रिजेक्शन इक्विपमेंट. सो बेसिकली रूम वगैरह भी गर्म होता है, तो फिर उसकी वगैरह जो हीट है, दैट इज अब्जॉर्ब्ड बाय द CDO, एंड दैट इज लेट ऑफ इन द छत पे वगैरह जो रहते हैं उस पर डाल देते हैं. Then another big thing that is coming out is immersion cooling. Immersion cooling में क्या है? Basically वो जो सर्वर के रैक्स होते हैं उस पर पानी में डुबा देते हैं, राइट? सो उसमें क्या होता है? सर्वर्स आर सबमर्ज्ड इन नॉन कंडक्टिव डाइलेक्ट्रिक फ्लूइड, एंड इसमें भी सेम कंसेप्ट यूज होता है. वो जो पानी में जो जो सर्वर्स डूबते हैं, एंड उसके बाद वो जो हीट अब्जॉर्ब होती है, दैट हीट इज अगेन पास थ्रू योर हीट एक्सचेंजर्स, एंड जो भी हीट रहती है, दैट गोज थ्रू योर हीट रिजेक्शन सिस्टम. सो यू कैन ऑल्सो रेफर टू दिस डायग्राम टू अंडरस्टैंड कि लिक्विड कूलिंग कैसे वर्क करता है. CDO से पास होता है, एंड देन दैट गोज थ्रू योर रूफ से बाहर जाता है. ये थोड़ा डिटेल डायग्राम है. इफ यू वांट यू कैन पॉज द वीडियो एंड रेफर टू दिस. बेसिकली क्या होता है? कूलेंट जाता है, एंड यू कैन सी दिस रैक मैनिफोल्ड, डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ कोल्ड प्लेट्स. कोल्ड प्लेट में से गर्म पानी जाता है, इट गोज थ्रू योर प्लेट हीट एक्सचेंजर, एंड वो प्लेट हीट एक्सचेंजर से बेसिकली ठंडा वापस जाता है, एंड जो गर्म रहता है, दैट गोज थ्रू योर फैक्ट्री के बाहर, डेटा सेंटर के बाहर जाता है. नाउ लेट्स कम टू सिंगल फेज इमर्जन कूलिंग. दिस इज लाइक the liquid to liquid exchange, and this is the where tremendous growth can come going forward, because see data center के जो आप अगर proxies play करने हैं, so liquid cooling is a proxy, and KRN Heat Exchanger is basically proxy का proxy, similar to how TD Power was or MTAR was. This is basically a proxy to proxy. So single phase immersion cooling में क्या है? As you mentioned कि basically plate ही the servers are dipped in that dielectric fluid water, and then whatever heat is generated, that heat is pushed out through a coolant pump. कूलेंट में बेसिकली कूलेंट टू वाटर हीट एक्सचेंज होती है. देयर अनदर हीट एक्सचेंजर इज यूज कि जो गर्म पानी वगैरह रहता है, दैट इज पास, गर्म पानी ठंडा होता है, वापस आता है, एंड दिस साइकिल गोज ऑन, एंड देन इवेपोरेटिंग कूलर टावर, ड्राई कूलर, या फिर ये सर रहता है टू इवैक्यूएट द वाटर एज वेल, वेयर द हीट एक्सचेंजर एग्जैक्टली सिट्स. सो जो हॉट जो फ्लूइड रहता है, डाइलेक्ट्रिक फ्लूइड, दैट इज पम्प थ्रू एन एक्सटर्नल प्लेट हीट एक्सचेंजर विद इन और नेक्स्ट टू द कूलेंट और डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन यूनिट. So basically how it works is that inside the plate, your hot dielectric fluid flows through one set of thin plate metals, while chilled facility water flows through an adjacent isolated set. So basically क्या होता है? जो गर्म fluid रहता है, and जो ठंडा cold fluid रहता है, that basically flows ऐसे, and the hot fluid becomes normal, and the cold water becomes warm. And zero mixing means what? That these two liquids don't actually mix. So basically वो एक thermal property रहता है, that heat transfers. So that is basically what's happening here. Here also you can understand, जो भी सारा गर्म पानी जो heat generated होता है, that goes through a pump, that goes through a liquid to air heat generator, and then that basically coolant is basically passed to it again, and this cycle goes on 24/7. That is why good quality heat exchangers are required. right? And you imagine कि heat exchangers are such a critical part of the liquid cooling that you can't, थोड़ा सा पैसे बचाने के लिए won't compromise on the quality, because if my heat exchanger fail, मेरा पूरा liquid cooling का process ही बर्बाद हो जाएगा, मेरा data center ही पूरा like जो server है, that server will only go to waste and then उसमें बहुत losses है. So उसको prevent करने से अच्छा I'll get a reputed customer, I'll get a like a reputed company, उससे मैं थोड़ा प्रीमियम ले रहा है वो तो भी कोई बात नहीं. बट इफ़ इट मीन्स दैट माई सर्वर्स आर इन 24/7, कूलिंग है, माई चिप्स की लाइफ इज ऑल्सो गुड, द परफॉर्मिंग वेल, देन ऑफकोर्स आई वुड माइंड पेइंग अ बिट ऑफ ज़्यादा पैसे. So and there is two-phase immersion cooling as well. This is a bit in the early development stages right now, especially in India. India में immersion cooling and liquid cooling is also in the very early stages because India में बहुत छोटे छोटे data centers बनते हैं, like अप टू 50 मेगावाट वगैरह. बट यूएस में एंड यूरोप में जो बड़े बड़े डेटा सेंटर्स बनते हैं उसमें इमर्जन कूलिंग, लिक्विड कूलिंग एक्सेट्रा इज यूज. सो इवन इफ यू सी KRN हीट एक्सचेंजर को बेसिकली डोमेस्टिक जो ऑर्डर्स आ रहे हैं दैट इज बेसिकली फॉर योर एयर कूलिंग ओनली, एंड एक्सपोर्ट्स में जो कंपनी को ऑर्डर आ रहे हैं दैट इज फॉर योर लिक्विड कूलिंग एंड योर इमर्जन कूलिंग. सो जस्ट टू समराइज इट, बेसिकली क्या होता है, हीट जनरेट होती है, AI के जो प्रोसेसर्स चिप्स वगैरह होते हैं वो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी को बहुत हीट जनरेट करते हैं. देन दैट हीट इज अब्जॉर्ब बाय आइदर योर लिक्विड कूल प्लेट्स और द कूल वाटर इफ इट्स सबमर्सिव कूलिंग, एंड देन दे मूव द हीट ऑफ फ्रॉम द सिलिकॉन. देन वो जो गर्म पानी होता है दैट गोज टू योर CDU, दैट इज कूलेंट डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन यूनिट, जिधर से कूलेंट जाता है एंड गर्म पानी आता है, एंड दैट मूव द हीट टू द फैसिलिटी वाटर लूप. सो बेसिकली फैसिलिटी से लेट ऑफ हो जाता है. देन देयर इज योर एक्टिव चिलिंग. सो एक्टिव चिलिंग इवेपोरेटर जो फ्लूइड के टेम्परेचर को ड्रॉप करता है. देन देयर इज द रिजेक्शन जो बेसिकली ड्राई एयर कूलर्स रहते हैं जो लेट ऑफ द हीट इन द एयर. एंड व्हाट इज KRN? KRN is a tier-1 supplier of coils and rejection unit to the world's leading cooling OEMs. So basically KRN का इधर रोल क्या है? KRN provides heat exchanger, right? KRN doesn't provide the actual coolant distribution unit. कूलेंट डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन यूनिट एक क्या हो गया, एक सिस्टम हो गया कूलेंट डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन यूनिट जो गर्म कूलेंट लाता है एंड ठंडा कूलेंट बेचता है. बट KRN एक्सचेंजर वो कूलेंट के लिए एक प्रोडक्ट प्रोवाइड करता है, राइट? जैसे बेलराइज इंडस्ट्रीज का एक एग्जांपल है, आई एम नॉट श्योर इफ यू गाइज हर्ड, बट व्हाट बेलराइज इंडस्ट्री इज डूइंग इज दैट अर्लियर इट यूज्ड टू मेक प्रोडक्ट बट नाउ इट इज मेकिंग योर सिस्टम्स एज वेल. Same with Apollo Microsystem. It used to make your electrical systems, but now it's making your actual weapons. Same thing with KRN, but KRN क्या करता है? KRN only provides the heat exchanger or coils or rejection units that are used in your CDUs. Not, it doesn't provide the exact entire liquid cooling या फिर immersion cooling का. It doesn't provide systems. For that there are players like Vertiv, Standard Electric, and all of these big players that do. Basically, it is a B2B company. And also these are the different types of heat exchanger coils and air coolers that the company makes, and you guys can just pause the video and understand what are the different types of product the company makes and what are its applications, uses, etc. in data centers or in general like ACs, coolers, HVAC systems, etc. And this sector, the liquid cooling, etc., that can grow at a CAGR of 16% till 2030. Because as we saw, rack densities moving from 15 kilowatt to 100 kilowatt plus creates 7 times higher thermal rejection demand. So India may be, as we see India may, as the capex picks up, as more and more kilowatt of data centers are set up, KRN exchanger will be the only preferred player because वो export भी कर रहा है and India में भी इसका अच्छा demand है. Basically we understood the liquid cooling का पूरा system, we understand different types of liquid cooling, we understood company का presence किधर actually, company is a product supplier not a system supplier, and we basically understood the demand factors where the company can do well. It also supplies heat exchangers to ACs, etc. But the main growth driver, that is your exports, and the market is also इतने premium valuations क्यों दे रहा है based on your data center के applications as well. So with that, we'll move to a more company-specific analysis. We'll understand its quarterly results. We'll do a con call analysis. We'll understand the kind of guidance the management is given. We'll create bull, bear, and base scenarios. And then we'll also look at its valuations and what are the key risks and key metrics you need to track going forward. So basically, if you look at the results of the company has been consistent from quite some time, except for the one quarter in which tariffs were implemented. So company being export, not heavy, but a bit dependent on exports, the business was affected a bit. And if you can see, even in this volatile time, copper prices were very volatile. Even during this time, the company withheld its margin. So quarter on quarter basis, if you see, there is slight decline. But if you see on a year-on-year basis, the company has seen good operating leverage and costs they have been able to manage good. And you see, PAT was also 57%. So overall, good results for the company. Even if you look at on a yearly basis, company has been growing at 40% plus for the last 2 years, and profit growth also 45%, good operating leverage. And with the new capacity of the company going forward, the company can also see operating leverage, due to which PAT growth will be higher than your revenue growth. But one thing that I want to point out is that whenever a company grows at a very fast pace now, as the company has grown, basically अगर आप देखोगे so 300 के करोड़ टॉप लाइन से कंपनी इज डूइंग 600 करोड़ की टॉप लाइन. बेसिकली 2 साल में कंपनी ने रेवेन्यू डबल किया है, एंड अगले 2 साल में तो कंपनी रेवेन्यू दो तीन गुना करने का ट्राई कर रही है. सो यू कैन सी जब भी कंपनी इतने फास्ट स्केल से ग्रो होती है ना, सो जब बिजनेस बड़ा होता है तो फिर बिजनेस चलाने के लिए आपको ज़्यादा पैसा लगता है. दैट इज कॉल्ड एज ए वर्किंग कैपिटल. डे टू डे बिजनेस ऑपरेशन रन करने के लिए जो पैसा लगता है, दैट इज अ वर्किंग कैपिटल. इसमें आ गया इन्वेंट्री ज़्यादा खरीदना, रॉ मटेरियल ज़्यादा रखना, बिकॉज वॉलेटाइल प्राइसेस आर वेरी वॉलेटाइल. सो वर्किंग कैपिटल साइकिल बिकम्स अ बिट इलॉन्गेटेड. रॉ मटेरियल, इन्वेंट्री, एक्सेट्रा, सैलरीज ऑफ कस्टमर्स, सैलरीज ऑफ योर एम्प्लॉइज वगैरह, ऑल ऑफ these फैक्टर्स की वजह से द वर्किंग कैपिटल साइकिल बिकम्स अ बिट elongated. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That's just a part and parcel of a business. If you are going to grow at a very fast pace, then your working capital will of course be elongated. Now why analysts don't like this is because आपके पास इन्वेस्टमेंट करने के लिए दो टाइप्स ऑफ कैपिटल होता है. एक होता है वर्किंग कैपिटल, एक होता है आपका नॉन वर्किंग कैपिटल. नॉन वर्किंग कैपिटल गोज इनटू योर फिक्स्ड असेट्स लाइक योर प्रॉपर्टी, प्लांट, इक्विपमेंट एक्सेट्रा, जिससे एक्चुअली रेवेन्यू आता है. वर्किंग कैपिटल से बेसिकली जो रेवेन्यू आना है वो रेवेन्यू को मैक्सिमम पोटेंशियल पे यूज़ करना. बेसिकली आपके पास 100 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू पोटेंशियल है, तो फिर उसके लिए जो कैपिटल लगता है दैट इज कॉल्ड एज वर्किंग कैपिटल. सो दैट इज वाई एनालिस्ट डोंट लाइक इट, बिकॉज वर्किंग कैपिटल में ज़्यादा पैसा फंसने से आप फिक्स्ड असेट में ज़्यादा पैसे, मतलब कैपेक्स ज़्यादा नहीं कर सकते आप. दैट इज बेसिकली अ मोर basically a drawback of elongated working capital. But if the company is growing at a fast pace, you can't have it both ways, right? आपका वर्किंग कैपिटल ज़्यादा elongated रहेगा, आपको ज़्यादा मटेरियल लगेगा, आप ज़्यादा इन्वेंट्री रखोगे, रिसीवेबल्स थोड़े बहुत हाई रहेंगे, पेबल्स भी हाई होंगे. सो दिस इज ऑल अ पार्ट एंड पार्सल ऑफ द गेम, नॉट नेसेसरीली अ नेगेटिव फैक्टर, बट समथिंग दैट इज नॉट पॉजिटिव एज वेल. सो इफ यू लुक एट इट, बैलेंस शीट पे अपना वर्किंग कैपिटल के लिए कंपनी हैज टेकन लोन, एंड मोस्टली अगर आप लोन देखोगे तो लोन इज करंट लाइबिलिटीज. इट्स नॉट लाइक लॉन्ग टर्म लोन. लॉन्ग टर्म लोन इज वेरी स्टिकी इन नेचर. वर्किंग करंट लाइबिलिटीज मीन्स द लोन विल बी रीपेड विद इन 1 year. सो इट्स नॉट अ टेंशन वगैरह इतनी बात नहीं है. And if you see the non-current asset, that is a fixed assets, if you see 170 crores, say it has almost up to 350 crores. So basically a 3x jump in your non-current assets, because company is doing massive capex, right? And even if you see cash flows, also this is affected. See, company used to do approximately 40 plus CFO to PAT, but now due to your heavy capex, the company is doing minus CFO to EBITDA. But this is a one-off. As the new capacity comes up online, as the utilization increases, the cash flow also increases, right? But in this case, if your income statement starts to suffer, then your cash flow will also start to refer. I have explained this in detail in my cash flow video, so refer to that. But इसमें basically क्या हो रहा है, कंपनी की वर्किंग कैपिटल इतनी बड़ी हो गई है, दैट इज वाई इफ यू लुक एट इट, वर्किंग कैपिटल चेंजेस की वजह से बेसिकली ये जो सारा इशू आ रहा है नेगेटिव कैश फ्लोज का, दैट इज एन इशू. बट आई डोंट नेसेसरी सी दिस एज अ नेगेटिव. But going forward in H1 of FY27, when company releases its cash flow statement, अगर उसमें भी कंपनी का वर्किंग कैपिटल बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ रहा है, then that can be a red flag for the company. So with that, we'll move on to the result analysis of its Q4 results, and we'll also look at the capacity expansions, the kind of revenue targets the company is given, the kind of guidance, and the kind of valuations that are coming out for the company. So I have this dashboard made right here for the Q4 results, and Q4 में company did 33% up revenue, PAT was up 45%, so that is good. Trailing P ratio 95%. But just stay with me. Towards the end of the video, you'll completely understand why the valuations are not as cheap as they seem. So now I have made this special dashboard for you to track the capex very easily. So basically FY25 में company came with its IPO, and company का IPO में क्या main reason था, टू बेसिकली फंड डेट कम करना था, एंड उसका जो नया कैपेक्स है दैट फंड करना था. सो कंपनी इज एडिंग अ न्यू कैपेक्स, दैट इज अ न्यू प्लांट. सो May 2025 में योर प्लांट वाज इनॉग्रेटेड, एंड कैपेसिटी बेसिकली 6 times हो गया आपकी. कंपनी ने 350 करोड़ का कैपेक्स किया था, 240 वॉज फ्रॉम IPO एंड 110 वॉज फ्रॉम इंटरनल. सो इफ यू लुक एट इट, कंपनी का FY27 में कंपनी इज गाइडिंग टू स्केल इट्स second capacity at 50% utilization, and FY28 में around 80% or full utilization. Right now company has 2 plants. So the first plant is running at full utilization, and plant 2 in FY26 was running at approximately 20-25% utilization if I'm not wrong. So you can see the kind of revenue potential also the company has. So this is a bar chart to basically understand your utilization ramp up and how revenues will scale up. So FY27 base scenario, if we see your plant one revenue that is at your full capacity, it can generate approximately 420 crores of revenue. And इसमें if we add 50% of your plant to your utilization, it can run at 1000 crores of revenue. So total में approximately 1400-1500 crores of revenue the company can do for FY27. So this is just a summary कि plant one can do at a 450 crores of revenue at its peak. Plant 2 can do approximately 1800 to 2400 crores of revenue at its peak. Now I know this is a broad guidance, but this is what the management has given us. And for the sake of being conservative, I have assumed a midpoint कि approximately 2000 crores of peak revenue the company can do. Now let's come at the revenue potential, or the 3 scenario model that I have made. So in this you can see the actual results of the companies, how your different line items have moved in revenue, COGS, raw material, depreciation, finance cost, etc. and how the PAT margins have evolved over a period of time. So you can just pause the video and view this if you want to. Now let's come to the main conclusion or the cusp of this video. So in this I have made 3 scenarios: bear, bull and base. And for the sake of argument, I have always considered base as the most probability, or the one that I use for my calculations. So base में company can do approximately 1470 crores of revenue, and if you see company did 600 crores of revenue, so that is basically a growth of 145%. Just in FY27 में company can grow its sales by 150% approximately, and we are assuming company can do stable EBITDA margins, like the company on a full year basis is doing margins of 18.7%. As the new capacity ramps up, operating leverage can kick in. So we are assuming like company can do 20% margin. This is also a bit optimistic, but you guys can alter it according to your expectations. Operating leverage plus partial PLI, right? PLI plus Rajasthan ka RIPS, that will also aid to your EBITDA margins. And I'm assuming a company can do a PAT of approximately 200 crores, which is a growth of 160% plus. So this is the kind of growth that the company is guiding for in FY27, and that is the reason why the stock might not seem as expensive as it does on a trailing 12-month P. And as I've mentioned before, you cannot look at high growth stocks on a trailing 12-month basis, right? अगर आप गाड़ी बहुत फास्ट चला रहे हो तो गाड़ी आप आगे देखोगे या पीछे देखोगे? आगे देखोगे, of course, right? Same thing with valuations. If it's a high growth engine, you will look at valuation on a forward basis. As simple as that. So plant to utilization 50% पे approximately 2100 crore is assumed as the mid capacity. उसका अगर 50% देखोगे 1100 crores plus plant 1 का 400 crores will get to approximately 1500 crores of revenue. Base case में I've also made this, but I don't usually like to consider base case or bear case, because these are very improbable or extreme events, and I personally like to stick with the base guidance as well. But the numbers are there on your screen. You can note them down if you want. And this is basically a revenue bridge to understand how the capacity or the revenue will scale up. FY27 के estimate में 420 crores of revenue from plant 1 and 1050 crores of revenue from plant 2. And this is one of the key metrics that you have to track on a quarterly basis, because अगर Q1 of FY27 में company का capacity utilization is according to your investment thesis or according to my assumptions, then and then only can I stay in the stock. But if in Q1 company says कि plant का utilization उतना नहीं हुआ, बाकी का बहुत reasons देगी company, तो फिर that is the moment you take it off the company. जैसे मेरा ट्रांसफॉर्मर्स रेक्टिफायर टैरिल के साथ हुआ था, बेसिकली कंपनी ने गाइडेंस बहुत अच्छा दिया था बट कंपनी ने कुछ किया नहीं. दैट इज अ प्राइम एग्जांपल. सो हर क्वार्टरली बेसिस पे हमको ट्रैक करना है इफ द मैनेजमेंट इज एक्चुअली वॉकिंग द टॉक. बेसिकली जो गाइडेंस दिया है वो गाइडेंस ऑन ट्रैक है टू अचीव इट, दैट वी हैव टू ट्रैक. And this is a more detailed, like the guys who are into finance, this is a more detailed explanation of my assumptions or the kind of growth rate or whatever I have assumed for this. Sorry, I forgot to mention that bus EC is also another key metric for the company going forward, key growth driver for the company going forward. The company has guided approximately 150 crores of revenue for FY27. So हर quarter पे देखना है कि if company is doing approximately 35-40 crores of revenue each quarter for the bus AC part. And this is also the P&L derivation. EBITDA margin कितना है, depreciation cost कितने आ सकते हैं, finance cost, profit before tax, effective tax rate कितना आ सकता है, and basically we come at a PAT margin, PAT of 203 crores. I've tried to make it as detailed and as granular as possible, as I think this is how I do my analysis, and this will help you as well in making your own projections. आप खुद का analysis बहुत easily कर सकते हो using this factor. With that, I really understood. I really hope that you guys understood what type of assumptions I'm making, what kind of revenue projections I'm making. That being said, you have to track on a quarterly basis if company is on track to achieve this, because एक quarter में भी execution खराब आ गया, company is trading at 95p, एक खराब क्वार्टर आ गया, स्टॉक 10% का सेकंड नीचे आके कंपनी के वैल्यूएशन बहुत कंप्रेस जाएंगे. This is one thing you have to watch out for in stocks that are trading at high valuations. With that, we'll move on to a valuation section of the analysis. So same for this, I've made 3 scenarios. ट्रेलिंग पे if you see 96 times earnings आपको बहुत एक्सपेंसिव लगेगा, बट एज आई सेड FY27 बेस पे अगर आप देखोगे कंपनी इज डूइंग 200 करोड़ ऑफ पैट एंड कंपनी करंटली ट्रेडिंग एट 7,400 करोड़ की मार्केट कैप. सो अगर आप बेस केस पे देखोगे, बेस केस पे द कंपनी इज ट्रेडिंग एट 36 times फॉरवर्ड अर्निंग्स. जस्ट लुक एट द मैसिव डिफरेंस. ट्रेडिंग 12 months पे कंपनी इज ट्रेडिंग एट 96 times, बट बेस केस में कंपनी इज ट्रेडिंग एट 36 times. So this is the kind of difference, or this is why I always say that you have to look at valuations on a forward basis. You can't drive a fast car looking in the rear view mirror. 36 times earnings for a company that can grow its top line by 150%, its PAT by 160%. So I think it's absolutely a steal deal. The only reason why I'm not, entirely positive is because of the factors that we're going to discuss towards the end of the video. But if you see bull case, bear case में also company has 60 times earnings. That is also a red flag. And 24 times on a bull case. As I said, base case is what I suggest to. And this is the PAT trajectory for FY27. And this is the kind of scenarios that I am expecting for each FY27 के base में कि इतना आना चाहिए मेरा. And I will evaluate this on a quarterly basis if the company is on track or not. If it's company on track, I can maybe add or hold. But if it's missing its guidance, then I know for sure I won't add more. कट का देख लेंगे बाद में based on the con call or not, but I definitely won't add in my position. So that was a very exhaustive analysis. But now coming to the risk factors, what are the major risk factors? So first is that, as we mentioned, working capital cycle बहुत elongate होना, right? कंपनी ने अभी 350 करोड़ का QIP भी किया है, but you have to keep in mind if the OCF that is or CFO, if that remains negative for too long, then कंपनी को बार बार डेट रेज करना पड़ेगा, इक्विटी डाइल्यूट करना पड़ेगा, which is not good for the company. So monitor working capital changes, margin the raw material volatility. Like copper is approximately, I think, around 30-40% of your raw materials. So company hedging कैसे कर रही है, company margins कैसे protect कर रही है, that we have to monitor. Then third is that अगर इंडिया में वो कैपेक्स जो हो रहा है वो बहुत स्लो डाउन होता है, अगर कंपनी को इतने ऑर्डर्स नहीं मिलते, दैट कैन बी अ रिस्क फैक्टर. अनदर पॉइंट इज दैट अगर एक्सपोर्ट्स में कुछ इशू आ जाता है, देन दैट कैन बी अनदर मेजर प्रॉब्लम फॉर द कंपनी, बिकॉज कंपनी इतनी बड़ी कैपेसिटी सेटअप कर ली है, अगर डिमांड साइड में थोड़ा भी फॉल्टर आता है, देन दैट कैन बी नेगेटिव फॉर द कंपनी, बिकॉज इतनी बड़ी कैपेसिटी सेटअप की है, इतने सारे एम्प्लॉयज़ हायर किए, एंड अगर वो फैक्ट्री ये बैठे तो आप लोग को बहुत गंदा ऑपरेटिंग डी लेवरेज मिलता है, जिससे मार्जिन बहुत गंदे कॉम्प्रेस हो सकते हैं. सो दिस इज अनदर रिस्क फैक्टर यू हैव टू लुक आउट फॉर. एंड देन अनदर इज दैट ट्रेलिंग 12 मंथ्स पे थोड़ा एक्सपेंसिव है. सो मार्केट में थोड़ा बहुत जो अनपढ़ लोग रहते हैं वो बोलते हैं कि बहुत एक्सपेंसिव है, तो इट डजेंट रियली मैटर, बट ऑन अ फॉरवर्ड बेसिस द स्टॉक इज़ अ गुड डील. सो दैट इज़ अ सब्जेक्टिव काइंड ऑफ थिंग. एक्सपोर्ट्स कैसे स्केल अप करते हैं, दैट इज़ अनदर गुड थिंग, दैट इज़ एंड एक्सपोर्ट्स कैसे स्केल अप करता है, दैट इज़ अनदर थिंग टू वॉच आउट फॉर. आई थिंक कंपनी अप्रॉक्सिमेटली 15% of its revenue was from data centers, if I'm not wrong, and company is saying that will basically do it to 30% by FY27. So that is one metric you guys have to track out for. So just to summarize the exhaustive analysis we've done, what we understood first, what KRN Heat Exchangers makes, basically heat exchangers, condenser coils, etc. that are used in your HVAC systems, coolers, data centers, chillers, etc. We understood what are different types of cooling. डायरेक्ट टू चिप कूलिंग होती है, इमर्जन कूलिंग होती है, एंड एयर कूलिंग होती है. D2C कूलिंग एंड इमर्जन कूलिंग इज द फ्यूचर. वी अंडरस्टूड इसमें डेटा सेंटर हीट एक्सचेंजर्स कैसे यूज होता है. द कंपनी प्रोवाइड्स प्रोडक्ट्स नॉट एंटायर सिस्टम्स, दैट इज अ की मेट्रिक टू ट्रैक फॉर. सो एंड कस्टमर्स कैसे करते हैं उस पर भी कंपनी का रेवेन्यू डिपेंडेंट है. नेक्स्ट वी अंडरस्टूड द काइंड ऑफ गाइडेंस और द काइंड ऑफ कैपेक्स द कंपनी इज डूइंग. कंपनी का कैपेक्स हो गया है, बट थोड़ा बहुत फैक्ट्री मेंटेनेंस के लिए कंपनी विल डू 30-40 करोड़ ऑफ कैपेक्स, बट द मेन कैपिटल डिप्लॉयमेंट दैट इज ओवर. So plant 1 can do approximately 400 to 420 crores of revenue. Plant 2 can do approximately 1000 to 1200 crores of revenue. That we come at a revenue of approximately 1500 crores. You have to track each quarter if the company is on track to achieve that. And then we understood the valuations. Company is trading at 35 times earnings in FY27 for a 150% growth engine. So that is a good deal, but the market is factoring in significant growth given that the stock is trading at 95 times earnings on a TTM basis. That is one track. Then we finally looked at the risk metrics, working capital, negative cash flows, and liquid cooling adoption now. These are the main risk factors for the company. So that was it for today's exhaustive analysis, guys. I hope you guys really liked the video, found it informative. It really took a lot of time to make this and present the analysis, and I hope you guys really like it. If you guys liked it, make sure to like the video, comment down below what was the favorite part about the analysis. Let me know what are the kind of assumptions or projections you guys are making for FY27, and subscribe to the channel for more such in-depth analysis and guides. I know the video was a bit late, a bit delayed, but it was due to I wanted to go as deep and granular as I can. So on that note, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much.